guys, Big Daddy, aka Eric from DSO here. Oh god, I can't believe I just said that. Today I'm going to be reviewing a lens my friend lent me, so a huge dedicated shout out to my buddy Alan McCullough for trusting me with his lens. It's an EF 100 to 400mm Canon L lens. First impressions are, I think it looks amazing. To have a lens that cover from 100mm to 400mm is impressive. It's a bit like the 24 to 105mm L lens that I have. Many will say that it's not as sharp, it's not the best L lens, but for me it's a great all-rounder. It covers great focal range, stays at f4 throughout that range, and has image stabilizer and USM for quiet focusing. I struggled to find one with similar spec, similar features at around the same price. Suppose something similar would be the 24 to 70, but you'd be paying big bucks for that. Anyways, back to my first impression. It looks great, the specs are great, but the only thing that I don't like about it is the aperture of f4.5 to f5.6. It isn't a major problem because a lot of my sharp images in the past came from around f7, f8, so there is something to work with. But I will show you why this was a problem for me in a minute. But firstly, here are some geeky specs for those who are interested. Luckily, the week that my friend lent me the lens, my other friend Paul wanted me to take photos of him playing football at his local football match. He is a goalkeeper if you're wondering, and usually the unfit ones are goalkeepers. Trust me, I used to be a goalkeeper. It was an extremely dull day, in fact it was pissing raining. It was like the end of the world type, so that means the lens passed the waterproofing test. Some of the photos that I took were a little underexposed, in fact it's very much underexposed. I tried to balance the shutter speed and aperture or whatever it gave me. I tried not to let the shutter speed drop in less than 1/60th. Aperture was fixed at f5.6, so that meant I had to bump up the ISO, but even still you can see once I crop the images it's not as sharp, it's blurry, it's shite to be honest. And my subject kept moving, but bear in mind it was at 400mm, none of my flash could really get to him. I suppose that brings me on to the con of this lens, its aperture. I know if it was at f2.8 or f2 these images would be a tad sharper, and I would know because I have the 70 to 200mm lens at f2.8 and they are a lot sharper than this lens. I would blame myself for the lack of experience in taking photos at fast-paced football, but I mean, who does that? Obviously it's not my fault, so I'm blaming the lens, obviously. Joking aside, this lens would be awesome if the max aperture was better than its current form. Another con about this lens is that it's freaking heavy. Unless you're as strong as me, means you have no problem. I highly recommend getting a monopod or tripod. This lens, coupled with my 5D Mark III, it needed it. Actually, the lens is actually heavier than my camera, if that gives you an idea of weight. Other than weight, aperture, this is a fantastic lens. So handy to have, especially for a football match. But is this lens any use? Well, it depends what you need it for. For me, this football match, yes, it was very, very useful. But usually whenever I go to football matches, I do take my 70 to 200mm lens. It's a lot sharper, it gets decent focal point, but the local football matches, I'm not like at Old Trafford or Anfield, any Premier League where I have to sit down and not allowed to move about. In these local football matches, I move about a lot and try and get close to my subject or whoever I want to photograph. So I suppose maybe my next test can be with the 70 to 200mm lens with a extender, see how that fares with the 100 to 400. To give you an idea of the focal range, I've taken a few photos at different ranges using this 100 to 400mm lens. The first photo is at 100mm, 135mm, 200mm, 300mm, and finally at 400mm. Bear in mind, this is at full frame camera. I also tried this on crop sensors for those who haven't got a full frame camera. First one is at 100mm, 135mm, 200mm, and 400mm. I think I'm pretty much done in my review. From the time I had my lens, it was all I can test. So, what do I think about the lens? Well, I'll give you the pros and cons of what I think anyways. The pro is the image quality. I think the image quality is great, but what do you expect from an L lens anyways? The con is, that I touched on, is the aperture. If we had a max aperture of f2.8 or f2, it'll be a lot better. It'll be sharper. I think the image quality would be blown out, it'd be awesome, but sadly it doesn't. The lens is extremely versatile and has a great focal range from 100 to 400. What more can you ask for? It seems like the perfect overall lens to carry about with you taking photos. The con of that is it's heavy. I needed a monopod or tripod at that football match, and whenever I was taking some wildlife photos just of birds, I needed a tripod as well, but I didn't have one, so my image quality wasn't as good and some of it was a bit blurry. The image stabilization is another, well, I suppose the image stabilization is a bonus to have, but at 400mm the image stabilization on this lens didn't seem to work as well as whenever it's at 100mm, but I'm not used to it, and to me I thought it was broken. Not sure if I didn't really do a thorough test in that one. It's a fun lens to have, definitely, carrying about, always having that focal range, as I said, it's a bonus. The con is of the lens, the autofocusing I didn't think was as fast as my other lens. Some of my non-L lens, like the 85mm, I thought it was slow compared to that one. Another con of the lens is the push-pull design for zooming in and out 100 to 400mm. I'm used to my other lens where it's like the focus barrel moving clockwise and anti-clockwise to zoom in and out, whereas this one's the push-pull design. Not being rude, but it looks like something else if you're, well, I'll not say it. Overall, final impression, it's handy to have. I think having that white L lens, it made me feel something special, as if you were a pro with something, but really I wasn't. Would I buy it? Probably not. I wouldn't buy it because it's very limited to what you can photograph, to me anyways. I have my range covered, my lenses. If I was trying to go far, I would use my 70-200mm lens. The 100 to 400mm lens is for someone who would be into wildlife, taking photos of animals, maybe even a football match. It is handy for that, but I don't need it, especially not if I bring my other lens. I wouldn't be carrying my lens and the 100 to 400 in my bag because it'd be too heavy. It's just a nuisance to carry it about. Personally, no, I wouldn't buy this lens, but I'm glad my friend gave it to me for a lend and test it out, because I have been looking at it thinking that is something I would need covering the range, but no, it turns out it isn't for me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my review. Thank you very much for watching. I'm hoping that you learned something or you got any tips from something that you didn't know about this lens. If you are seriously interested in buying it, I suggest that if you have a friend, pester him to get a lens of it, and if you don't, maybe even test it out. That's, I know, the likes of Jessup's or Calumet. Oh god, I'm rambling on. Anyways, thank you very much for watching my review. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.